All right, I'll say, how are you all this day of your time as you create time to exist? Oh, thank you. Allow me to begin by expressing my unconditional love and appreciation for your willingness to co-create this interaction this evening of your time. Only do we respond to the request of the desire to interact in this way, and therefore each and every interaction that we partake of with members of yours and any other respective society that we may find ourselves attracted to is always the result of willingness to communicate and co-creation of the interaction. For I do not in any way, shape, or form inhabit the body of any particular individual. That is not the mechanism through which these interactions take place. What occurs is that any particular biological individual or entity is enabled through a process that we co-create to empathetically mimic my vibration, the vibration of my consciousness, the vibration of what you will refer to as my individuality or signature vibration. So therefore, we co-create these interactions with any respective channel and with any participants in any of these interactions. I therefore thank you once again for your willingness to create such a joyful interaction, which brings us great joy. You really are already containing anything that you seek to know, anything that you seek to experience, anything that you seek to create. I can say this because I understand your nature as a being or a beingness, and each and every one of you are multidimensional, infinite, and eternal by nature. Multidimensional, infinite, and eternal by nature. You are creating what you refer to as your physical lives to, in that way, partake of one option of creation, which is the experience of what you call linear reality. Linear reality contains the idea of what you call space, and therefore the idea of time to seemingly move through that space, experience that space. The creation of before, during, and after is one of the sub-characteristics of linear reality and allows you to experience yourself in such a way, in such a focused manner, whereby, perhaps until you begin to entertain the notion, you are not completely aware that you are indeed multidimensional, infinite, and eternal. The way that you create physical experience, linear reality, finite reality, is through a methodology which, in a sense, it is only an apparency, but in a sense, breaks down your consciousness, or, shall I say, gradiently expresses your consciousness. In other words, you are an all-knowing, all-seeing, simultaneous, multidimensional, eternal, infinite consciousness. Everything that you experience, everything, is contained within your consciousness, within the infinity of your consciousness. From your infinite point of view, there is no within and without, for these are linear terms. But from the viewpoint that you create, linear point of view, your body is literally within your consciousness and not the other way around. Therefore, you already contain it all. All knowledge, all experience, all ideas, And what you call growth and learning is only one of the characteristics of linear reality, and in that sense is truly, from your infinite point of view, an illusion. Remember, you already know it all, therefore the idea of not knowing something and then learning it is simply an exploration, an apparency. Therefore, since you already contain it all and express yourself on a line for now, you will create the apparency of learning, but the mechanism is truly simply now expressing more of yourself, more of your infinite potential, more of what you know to be true for you. And therefore, anything that rings true with you, anything that you understand to be true at any given moment, you already contained to begin with. As you begin to entertain the idea of yourself as pure consciousness, as an infinite being, you begin to then attract to yourself within the physical parameters that you set up resources, information, timings that allow you to begin to express more and more and more and more of who you already are. Not becoming something that you are not, but simply expressing more of who you already are. One way of looking at this is that your vibration as a consciousness begins, as you express yourself in physical terms, as a very contracted vibration. This allows you to experience the apparency of forgetting 99.99999 and so on and so forth % of who you are to experience the infinitesimal decimal place 0.1 of who you now choose to express yourself as. Your vibration, therefore, becomes contracted in a physical sense. As you begin to expand your notion, your acceptability of who you are, your vibrational resonance rises. And you sometimes refer to it as your vibration ascending. Therefore, truly, ascension is simply being willing to express more of who you already are, and is not somewhere to go to from here. Because as you expand the idea of who you are, you understand both here and there exist within you, and there is no separation. Therefore, ascending is truly simply being more of yourself. Individuals, when defining the idea of ascension, will often assume that you are ascending away from this physical reality. Now, that is one way to experience it. That is one idea of the result of the process of ascending or expanding your vibration. But understand in no uncertain terms that you have chosen to be here. Chosen to be here to, again, as we have said, experience yourself in a very specific way, within a reality with very specific parameters. Because of these specific parameters, there are very unique characteristic advantages to the physical experience. And when in that sense you are all-knowing, all-seeing, simultaneous, there are certain nuances or qualities which have less meaning to you in that state. One is the idea of learning. One is the idea of discovery. One is the idea of surprise. All of these ideas become somewhat irrelevant when you already know it all. So therefore, advantages of what you call the physical reality include discovery, the joy of discovery, and surprise or unexpected outcomes. Therefore, one idea of expressing ascension is to begin to willingly participate in the creation and experience of your reality consciously, because you say so. And very literally, if you are to ascribe levels to the idea of ascension, the first level of ascension would be ascending into living this reality fully, with absolutely no nuance, no hint of the idea of escaping from this reality, of ascending away from this awful place, as you will sometimes refer to it. Therefore, the idea of ascending or expanding your vibration is a joyful celebration of more of who you already are. And nothing need be given up in terms of becoming more of who you already are. Since you contain it all, there is no outside. There is no external. There is nothing but you experiencing yourself. So therefore, you cannot really escape from yourself, because all you would achieve in that sense is going to yourself anyway. Becoming familiar with this idea allows you to now understand in no uncertain terms there is nowhere to go. You're already there. And understanding, deciding that you are already there allows you to experience the advantage of what you have already, in no uncertain terms, created as your reality. Therefore, diving into your reality, being willing to decide your reality, is one way in any given moment that you can transform your reality. Now, I had mentioned earlier on that you break down or gradiently express your consciousness from that one eternal infinite being. The convention through which you express this is what we generally refer to as a triad of belief systems, causing emotions, causing thoughts, and ultimately resulting in action. The paradox of the idea that your reality is the result of your beliefs, emotions, and thoughts and actions is that you do not have one belief and not have another. As I said, you contain it all. You contain all beliefs. Every belief that you can possibly mention or think of, you also contain the opposite belief. I mention this distinction not to confuse you, not to confound and befuddle you, but to simply point out that if you understand that you already contain it all, then there is nothing to get rid of or process through, and there is nothing to gain or achieve. There is simply, and it all boils down to one word: decision. It is up to you in any given moment to express who you prefer to be versus who someone else says you should be, who you think you should be out of obligation to everyone else, or whatever your rationale is for maintaining a state of consciousness which does not allow you to express joy in your life. Your birthright is joy. Your birthright is ecstasy. These are not things you need earn from the ultimate sense of that term. They are things that you will sometimes decide that you must earn. But you are the ultimate dictator of your reality. And therefore, you and only you can decide, well, all right, there is this concept of ecstasy. There is this concept of joy. And once I earn it, I get it too. Well, yes, you contain it all. So if you have that particular approach, you can create the apparency of not deserving your joy, taking a series of steps or actions, earning the deservability to express and experience joy, and then ultimately experiencing the joy. However, the interesting point is that the moment you decide you have earned the right to express your joy and express it, it is truly not the process of having earned it that creates the joy in your life. It is the decision in the moment that you finally make the decision, using the process, using the dues that you have paid as an excuse, to now express that joy. All the criteria, all, as you sometimes refer to it as the baggage, is set up by you and you only. In every given moment, you are always expressing some version of who you believe yourself to be. You decide in each and every moment who you are. You create 100% fully who you are in each and every moment. Right now, right now, right now, right now, and right now. For now is the only time that is truly, truly real. Your infinite consciousness is one eternal now, simultaneous now. And as a linear expression, whereby you create the apparency of a linear progression of nows, in each of those nows, which, by the way, are all truly the same now, you make a decision. I am this person. I am this person. I am this way. I am that way. You generally do so through an elaborate set of criteria. Perhaps you say, I am this person because this happened when I was a child. Perhaps you say, I am this person because these circumstances would only happen to a person such as this. Perhaps you say, I am this person because everyone tells me I am. Therefore, they must be onto something. But ultimately, it is your decision. It is your agreement with whatever that criteria may be. I am this person, that allows you to express from the all that you contain that version, that person that you are being in that moment. The reason that you experience yourself as a linear being, rather than a completely new person with a different body, different hair color, different eye color, different height, different weight, and each and every moment, is because as you define yourself in any given now moment, you bring along the baggage. You bring along a conception. Well, you will often say, I am this person who is exactly the same person that I was a moment ago with this one minor little difference. And of course, you will experience the result of that one minor little difference with the apparency of being the same person. Now, we do not share this so that you will spontaneously disintegrate your entire personality and completely transform this reality into an unrecognizable form. That is an option, by the way. But you need not do that in order to recreate yourself according to preference in any given moment. By simply being willing to be mindful of the decision you are making right now, and then perhaps dialoguing with yourself to determine who it is you prefer to be right now, that is all it takes to completely and 100% transform your entire experience right now. You already do this anyway. I am not suggesting or introducing anything that you are not an expert at. And as we sometimes say, you are perfect creators. So when you create misery, it is perfect misery. When you create joy, it is perfect joy. But always does it hinge on the decision in the moment of who you are. In general, how you express this as physical beings is by, number one, making the decision, this is who I am. You then, number two, trust that decision. Well, I must be that person. You then, number three, act or perform an action in your reality with the foundational underlying supposition that this is who I am, and it is those actions in a physical reality that seem to cause results in a physical reality that seems to reinforce in a physical reality the decision. Therefore, whatever you decide, you get. And whatever method that you use as an excuse to make that decision, the decision still sticks. As an example, individuals will often assume, in order to transform to the individual that I prefer to be, I must understand who I am already being. And often they will create an elaborate process, an elaborate and painstaking exploration of why, oh why am I who I am. The interesting thing is that as they are, in that sense, partaking and creating this process, they continually reestablish the decision, this is who I am. As you dig into your past to determine why you turned out in such an undesirable way, should that be a reproach, you continually reassert who you are. You continually maintain the decision that I am this person that needs so much work. There can be value when you insist on moving on a gradient to all of this type of exploration. However, if transforming instantaneously appeals to you, maybe it doesn't. But if it does, you need not carry around the baggage. All that you need do to transform right now is simply, as you say in your vernacular, take the bull by the horns and simply have your decisions about who you are be conscious and purposeful. Perhaps you may wish to include the idea of factoring in your preference. This is who I desire to be. Now, when you state, this is who I desire to be, you can very, very simply digress, well, this is who I am being, even though I desire to be this person. But that is not the same as simply deciding, this is who I am, because this is what I prefer, this is how I see myself, this is the person I love. And your willingness to simply cut through the red tape, as you say, and decide, according to preference, who you are, allows you to take the process that you already use to create your own reality and shift it, as you say, on a dime, or any denomination you choose. Therefore, be mindful, should you choose the idea of beginning to express joy and ecstasy in your life, not so much of who you are being, that is not the person you desire to be, but who you do desire to be, who you prefer to be, and therefore, once you decide, who you already are. Any person that you may have been in any other given moment becomes irrelevant to that decision. You become the person you decide in each and every given moment. Now, if you decide what you are saying is nonsense, you get it. If you decide that makes sense, I'll give that a try, then you get the partial result of someone who is trying. If you decide, I already do that, I will begin to do it consciously right now, you are no longer any other person that you have ever defined yourself to be. You are now the preferred you. If you will begin to simply trust that decision, your actions, perhaps subtly at first, but eventually quite blatantly, will begin to reflect the decision. And the actions will have results, and even what you consider to be the external circumstance will seem to change. Now understand in no uncertain terms, because of the cause and effect methodology that you create in your reality through your actions, you perform an action which you consider to be a cause and you get an effect. You have a tendency to judge yourself against the background of your circumstance, of your situation. If you will begin to understand that all those results, all those circumstances truly have no built-in meaning, that they are a neutral set of props, no matter how they may appear on the surface, you then give yourself the power to interpret that circumstance, those situations, through the you that you have now decided to be. Now, if that you happens to be an empowered being, you will say, well, how does this situation serve me? Exactly as it is, and then get the result of service from a circumstance, service from a situation that you have formerly labeled negative, or formerly labeled as evidence that, well, I guess I haven't changed at all. Understand, by the way, that when you say, I guess I haven't changed at all, what are you doing? You're making a new decision in the moment. And though you did change completely and 100%, that decision, I haven't changed at all, is very similar to, perhaps you can say, previous negative decisions that you have made, and therefore can seem, it is only an apparency, but a very strong one, seem to cancel out the positive change. It does not, for you are still a new being with that much more knowledge. But the idea is, only do you seem to backslide, as you sometimes say, when you are not willing to remind yourself, remember yourself, to maintain the decision of who you prefer to be. And any circumstance that would seem to be negative, seem to be evidence that you are not the new person that you desire to be, is on the flip side of the coin an opportunity to reestablish, to realign to who you prefer to be, by reminding you, though this circumstance may appear negative, the me that I prefer to be no longer chooses to interpret it that way. This is the new me. And therefore, my interpretation of any set of circumstance is new, is anew. And therefore, I can derive how each and every circumstance is of service to me. All the while, as you adopt this approach, and containing the idea of maintaining who you prefer to be, and trusting that, and acting that way, you are creating a new set of circumstance. And so the external situation in your life does seem to change. But generally only if you are unwilling to use the first moment that you make the decision, I am now this preferred person, the consciousness of that preferred person to interpret your present set of circumstances, which physically speaking may be resulting from older perspectives. But the new interpretation completely changes the effect of the circumstance rather than perpetuate it on and on and on and on. So no matter what your seeming repetitive issues have been, they only appear to be repetitions because you adopt a similar approach, a similar interpretation, and ultimately a similar set of actions when you realize, here it comes again. Allowing the decision of who you prefer to be to stick simply requires occasional reminders, and that is all. Also, conducive to the change is the willingness to remind yourself to interpret your reality through your new self. Therefore, the initial idea of experiencing what you call ascension is to express yourself in this life as this particular version of your consciousness, fully, purposefully, and being willing to not settle for anything less than getting every positive thing out of it that you can. When you do this, you experience the idea of ascended consciousness while still maintaining the apparency of a physical body and a linear expression. And living your reality in a physical way as a conscious creator, expressing yourself through preference and joy, expressing the things that bring you passion with integrity, for you know everything is one integrated whole, is a type of experience that is, perhaps I will say, to be qualitative about it, and mean this, perhaps you can say a bit loosely, an unrivaled experience in the multiverse. Therefore, you would not want to miss it. My particular society still expresses itself in a physical way. We are, perhaps you can say, on the verge, on the threshold of beginning the first phase of our non-physical expression of consciousness. But we have throughout our history, and I use the term loosely because time has a different meaning for us, still chosen to experience physicality, though from the perspective of conscious creatorhood, from the perspective of taking the advantage of the unique opportunity to discover, the unique opportunity to be surprised, to experience unexpected circumstance. Which again, I remind you, when you are infinite, all-knowing, that apparency no longer has meaning. Not that you are missing anything in that state, you are not. But the way to create this type of experience is through gradient expression of your consciousness, as opposed to holistic expression of your infinite consciousness. Before we proceed to the interaction, allow me to simply remind you once again that you do, as an infinite being, already contain it all. There is nothing outside infinity. There is no border to infinity. And therefore, anything that you hear, that you discover, is literally that process. It is not gaining something you never had and now do. It is simply discovering, opening up the cover, the veil, to more of who you already are. And therefore, should you feel you have learned something, whether it is in this interaction or any other time in your life, most accurately. You are simply now choosing to express what you already contain. And therefore, you get the credit. You get 100% credit for the creation of your reality because you 100% create that reality. Therefore, by all means, you can entertain the idea of being willing to be proud and take the credit that you are due. You already create your reality through decision, trust, and action. Therefore, the only slight change that we perceive that you are now unveiling to yourself, and therefore we act as a reflection, is the simple idea to be more conscious about it, to be more definite about it, to make the decision, to allow that decision to stick, and then to have the fun of going around to your reality, interpreting your reality through the decision, and watching in what you call short span of time, your entire realities, life, circumstances, relationships to both yourself and what you perceive to be others change 100%. Only when you change your perspective, your approach, does there appear to be an external alteration of circumstance. Only when you change who you are does it appear that others have also changed. For you are now willing and ready to interact with others on that level. For they also, each and every one of you also, are multidimensional, infinite, and eternal beings and contain every potential, every possibility, every expression. And as you change the vibration through which you express your reality, you also change the vibration through which you interpret it, and therefore are now literally interacting with a different version, different aspect of any individual that you formerly have interacted with, and they seem to have changed. But ultimately, it is you. And change is the only constant anyway, or one of them. Therefore, I thank you for being willing to allow me to reflect back to you what you already know to be true for yourself, what you now have chosen as your timing, and allowing me to act as the reflection to mirror back certain very simple ideas. Remember, though your reality may seem to contain the notion of complexity, the mechanism through which you create your reality is quite simple. And when you define who you are, you can now allow for the dispensation of your reality to be simple, to be effortless. Effortless does not mean you will not have surprise, you will not have unexpected ideas, you will not perceive the idea you sometimes refer to as challenge. But effortless is simply an expression of no longer going against the grain of who you know yourself to be. Effort, in one interpretation of that term, is simply going against your own grain, causing a friction, causing a resistance which seems to exhaust you all. Being who you are is quite simple and quite effortless. Therefore, I thank you once again, and for the first time, since I am creating myself anew also, I am always experiencing each and every one of you as a new being, and myself as a new being as well. Nice to meet you all. Shitting.